Yeah, that sounds good.
Good enough. All right. So, um, I've come to the conclusion that woke leftism is it's more about. I mean, it's a lot of it's about egotism, and these egotists would not have power if they did not their flying monkeys that basically sign off on their narcissistic behavior. And I think that's the biggest issue. And I think what the opposition to the woke left has to do is fight them economically, boycott whenever possible, and do what they do what they do to others. I mean, they blacklisted people before. They put people on film. They've antagonized people, put them on camera, and then companies have fired people and gotten them hurt in the industries that they work. I think you have to fight to a degree. You have to fight fire with fire and give them a taste of their own medicine. I mean, if they belligerent and that nasty, I think you do everything to them that they've done to you. Is that
And as a straight up, I don't claim to be anything unusual, but I am not an atheist. I do believe that we are in something that was created, if you will, by design. And but in that respect, I guess you could say that that I would say that there's a higher power somewhere. Maybe it's within each and every one of us. But I typically describe myself as a pacifist. And as a pacifist, one thing I certainly recognize is human nature and our our will to survive, as Survivor saying, and our inner strength and doing good for this world, and doing it in a peaceable manner, without reaching first for uh, you know to show my physical strength, but if that believe me, if someone steps on my property and crosses that line, I am all about self-preservation and and protecting rightfully what is mine. And so I don't get it twisted, but as a pacifist, I do feel that there is enough room for dialogue and discourse, knowledge and education. I do believe in these things, and I stand by those strongly.
I don't see the other side with wanting to talk or negotiate. They only believe in shutting people down and punishing, and you have to speak their language. And it's like you never talk to us. Now we're going to do to you. Part of it is like you push, I push, you kick, I kick, and I think a lot of people do not see that they work in a different framework. They're not there. These groups, the woke left, in my opinion, they're like the Terminator. Uh, they can't be reasoned with, and like if you disobey them and are disobedient with them, they cannot be reasoned with. They have no empathy. They have no mercy. They just want to destroy you. So that's and how do you deal with a Terminator? You got to destroy it. You can't just because they're not going to listen to your reason. They're there. If you don't obey them, they will absolutely shut you down. And if you resist them too hard, they will punish you. And they lie all. I mean, they what I observe is they misinform and they lie a lot. And they do have a few flying monkeys that have power. Opinion, I think they have to be stripped of that power, and this has to be a worldwide fight against a very toxic and very vindictive and vile group of people that have managed to take control over our establishment. And I think the best thing to do is to gain economic force and give them a taste and then some of their own medicine. Because they, like I said, this is a group that does not negotiate. So what do you do with a group that doesn't negotiate and basically is against the non-aggression principle and is about punishment?
Well, certainly that's why I've been, as we have fallen over some sort of ledge in the last 3 years, economically, I have been fully supportive of each and every man, woman out there to work on becoming their own central bank, and that just means building uh, physical assets and staying on the right side of things rather than joining a dying system that's full of I think there are people that are so desperate to continue this system, keeping it in its current position, and that's because they're currently at that leadership forefront, and so I think I just feel strongly in that sense. So I don't know if how you feel on that, but that's where I'm at with it.
Well, you resist or you flee. And to me, if I flee, what I resisted and what I tried to resist and what I failed to resist, I don't want what I resisted to come near me or around me. And there comes a point of resistance and then protection from that which I resisted. Again, this is a culture war. These people are an enemy, and you either see it or you don't. There are a lot of people, I talked to this guy, Jim, on Twitter, and the thing is, he doesn't see, to me, he thinks I'm just as bad as the left, but I'm responding to, and I'm responding to their behavior. And like, if I had the power, I would do to them and then some to what they've done to other people and what I've observed. Of course, I'd want them to go have due process, but if they are guilty of their transgressions, I would want the most severe punishment done to them. And I think during the riots and during the COVID lockdowns, there was a lot of bad, very vicious and vile behavior. And I think that there has to be a settling of scores, a reckoning, but it has to be done in a form of due process. But once you're found guilty, if you're found guilty, you know, punishment should be certain punishments should be rather severe. Uh, and you got to make an example of some of these people who were really vicious. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Some of these HR departments need to be humiliated. They need to be degraded because they've done that to others. And I think that things to a degree need to be made even Steven. Joe, I don't know if you have a comment on that, but that's what I believe as of now.
I'd love to see that. Where I went during this time. I wouldn't say I was in a position to do this economically, but I did it anyways. And what I did is I tested that water for myself because I wanted to be 100% clear. And I got hired at two different companies. And when they demanded that I did certain things to my own body that I didn't want to do, when I refused to give them the paperwork to show evidence that I was going to fall in line. Uh, I lost those jobs after I was given it to. They took it right back and they said goodbye. And would I like to see the score even on that? Sure, why not? These people need to have a bitch slap of epic proportions, but will it happen? I don't know. I don't know who's going to supply it. I think transparency and merit are two vital elements that is missing in corporate America. It's lacking, and and I think now is a good time to be applying those slaps to the face. Why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think certain groups, and I'll go over them later, need to be very humiliated, and they've done things over the years that are very hyperbolic and and rather cruel. And there needs to be some of the things that they uh, tried to silence and the things that they ran interference for were really rather cruel. And I think it was more out of ego than it was out of good intention. Joe, and I think that's all I want to say about that for now. And again, we are planning a walk against the woke. And the one thing we want is for transparency. And I think both of us would like, the internet to be this age of information, and it's not anymore. It's become a very censored internet, and hopefully,
Brian, have you witnessed firsthand trying to find some of the research or threads that you used to be able to find very easily through simple web searches? Are you having difficulty doing that? I mean, the algorithms have changed so hard that
yeah.
that if you don't have a real organized set of hyperlinks and ways to find your ways back to some of those um, to some of that information. I mean, it's darn near impossible to find a lot of it at this point.
I think there are a few groups that are responsible for that, and we're seeing lying left and right. And people, when a person says freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach, you know what? That's not the like the meaning of freedom of speech is that like if your message comes across and people hear it, you got to do a better job. If it's untrue, you better debunk it and you better do a good job. And the legacy media has been very reckless and very, in my opinion, very egocentric. And they need to pay a price too. And they also need to be humiliated. Um, or at least some of the worst ones. Really, I would almost want to do what they did in Maoist China and put dunce caps on their head and march them up and down the street. I would want to, but I know it wouldn't be right. But it's like, God, you were given such responsibility, and then you act the buffoon. Anyway, Joe, is there anything to add before we call this show a day?
No, I think we are good. Thanks for listening to Transparency and Merit, and let's get our regular shows back and start getting here on a consistent basis. So anyone that wants to learn more and kind of follow the thread more closely, then we'll be there.
Good enough. All right, Joe. I'm going to call it a day. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Thank you for listening.